Hello, everybody. It's Miss Trish with the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg, and I'm here with the lesson for the Unicorns group, which is the kindergarten through third grade group for May the 17th. I hope everyone is well and they've been enjoying this beautiful weather that we've been having and making really good use of their time. I'm going to light our chalice so we can start the lesson. Love is the spirit of this church and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Put this aside. So all month we've been looking at the idea of thresholds. And if you remember, the threshold is the part of the door when you open the door and you walk through, you travel over the threshold, and it's the transition from outside to inside or from one room to another. So we have something in the Wonder Box, I have a different one this time, that will help us talk about thresholds. Before I talk about that, we're going to be reflecting on the many ways that we transition through life. And this month, the calendar connection that concerns thresholds, there will be a lot of changes this month. People will be graduating, older children will be coming of age, meaning that they'll become adults and they'll pass into a new phase of their life. So let's take a look at the Wonder Box. Isn't this one cute? Let's see what's inside that will help us talk about thresholds and the theme of the door of growing up. I wonder if there's a door in here. It's not a door. It's a tape measure. Tape measures help us to measure a lot of things. Maybe you have one on a wall, or maybe you've made some marks on a wall to show how much you've grown over a period of time. Today we'll reflect on the idea of the growing up door and crossing over thresholds, like maybe completing one grade and moving into another, or finishing elementary school and moving into middle school, or moving into high school, or graduating from high school. Many different thresholds you could cross this month. So take some time to think about how your life is changing and how you're crossing from one phase of life into the next, opening a door and going through it to a new part of your life. We're going to have a meditation, and it will be from the door of growing up. Hold on and I'll get us some music. This door of growing up is a time when the congregation, if we were meeting together, talks to the seniors who are graduating from high school, and they give them their well wishes for their next phase of life, whether they're going to go into the work world or going to college. Some young people will be getting married and starting families, or going into the service. All kinds of things will be happening. So let's get some music going. And find a nice place to relax and settle in for our meditation. And take a nice slow breath in and out. And another one. These are the words that we say to people that are moving out of high school and into the next phase of their lives. May you be brave enough to expose your aching woundedness and reveal your vulnerability. May you speak your deepest truths, knowing that they will change even as you speak them. May you sing the music within you, composing your own melody and playing your own song with all your heart. May you draw, paint, sculpt, and sew, showing the world your great vision. May you write letters, poetry, biographies, slogans, graffitis, great novels, laying bare your love and even your hatred in words for the world to read. May you love deeply, even though your heart breaks. And until the end of your days, may you be filled with possibility and courage. I'm going to make the music a little quieter. Take some time to think about the words that I said and how they will be relevant in your life. Futures that you might have in mind for yourself, of how you'll show up with courage, with truth, and show your deepest self to the world, regardless of what other people think, what they say, and hold your truth because it's yours. You may or may not be graduating, but we're moving into summer, and I'm sure you're learning all kinds of new things. Maybe you're learning to play an instrument. Maybe you're learning a new sport or a game like chess. Maybe you're learning what you can do with your time when it's not as structured as it has been. So the thresholds you pass might not be as formal as graduating or getting married, but they are transitions nonetheless. When we have a formal graduation or a ceremony, sometimes we have mementos to help celebrate them, and I brought a few of my own to share with you. This is a $2 bill. When I graduated from college, my college sent me this $2 bill in the mail along with my certificate. I was very surprised to get a $2 bill and thrilled. That was many years ago, and I've kept that $2 bill all this time. This heart I received after I had completed a health coach training course. It took me months. It cost a lot of money. I learned a lot, and besides the materials that they gave us each these stuffed velvet hearts. And I put a magnet inside mine so I could stick it to my refrigerator or my door and see it always, and remember the cool stuff that I learned in my health training course. You don't always get a memento at the end of completing something. Sometimes you get something at the beginning. This turtle that's carved with Hawaiian designs is a memento that I got for every member of my ukulele band. And we wore these to help celebrate that we were ready to play in public. And we wore these at our very first public performance, which was to help the Dunedin Historical Museum reopen, and they had a Hawaiian day, and we played Hawaiian music and sang ukulele songs for their grand reopening. And then sometimes the thresholds are not as joyous, or they might not seem as joyous to us. This little memento is a card that I got when a friend of mine, a dearly loved friend, passed. And it's a prayer to help me always remember that friend. So there are all kinds of thresholds in our lives, and even exiting our lives. We're going to have a story next that will help us to remember that courage is really important when you're starting something brand new. When we first played our first ukulele gig at that museum, I was a little nervous and a little frightened. I hadn't played in public with this group of folks, and I'd never played at that particular place before. So when you start something different, you might feel a little hesitation and a little bit of fear, but you always have you, and you can always show up with your own strength and courage. So I'm going to get our story ready for us now. This book is called The Day You Begin by Jacqueline Woodson, illustrated by Rafael Lopez. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one is there quite like you. Maybe it will be your skin, your clothes, or the curl of your hair. There will be times when no one understands the words that curl from your mouth, the beautiful language of the country you left behind. My name is Rigoberto. We just moved here from Venezuela. And because they don't understand, the classroom will fill with laughter until the teacher quiets everyone. Rigoberto from Venezuela, your teacher says so soft and beautifully that your name and homeland sound like flowers blooming, the first bright notes of a song. There will be times when the words don't come, your own voice, once huge, now smaller, when the teacher asks, "What did you do last summer? Tell the class your story." "We went to France," Chela says. "These shells come from a beach in Maine." A boy named Jonathan holds a jar filled with tiny shells so fragile they look like they'll turn to dust in your own untraveled hands. "My whole family went to India, Spain, South Carolina." Each souvenir a small triumph of a journey, their travels going on and on. And as you stand in front of the room, you can only remember how the heat waved as it lifted off the curb, and your days spent at home caring for your little sister, who made you laugh out loud and hugged you hard at nap time. And you can only remember the books you kept on reading long after she'd fallen to sleep. And in that room where no one else is quite like you, you'll look down at your empty hands and wonder, what is the good when other students were flying and sailing and going somewhere? There will be times when the lunch your mother packed for you is too strange or too unfamiliar for others to love as you do. When even your best friend Nadja will wrinkle her nose and say, "What's in there anyway?" And you'll wonder how she doesn't see the rice beneath the meat and kimchi. You'll wonder why she doesn't remember that rice is the most popular food in the world. There will be times when the climbing bars are too high, the run is too fast and far, the game isn't one you'll ever really play. "I don't want him on our team." "You can watch." Maybe you can have a turn later. There will be times when the world feels like a place that you're standing all the way outside of. And all that stands beside you is your own brave self, steady as steel and ready even though you don't yet know what you're ready for. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one there is quite like you until the day you begin to share your stories. My name is Angelina, and I spent the whole summer with my little sister, you tell the class, your voice stronger than it was a minute ago, reading books and telling stories. And even though we were right on our block, it was like we got to go everywhere. Your name is like my sister's, Rigoberto says. Her name is Angelina, too. And all at once, in the room where no one else is quite like you, the world opens itself up a little wider to make some space for you. This is the day you begin to find the place inside your laughter and your lunches, your books, your travels, and your stories, where every new friend has something a little like you, and something else so fabulously not quite like you at all. The end. You may not have had that same experience, but you've been a new person in a new school. Maybe it was preschool or kindergarten, first grade. Maybe it was the first time you came to UU, to the RE classes. Well, we have some activities for you to help you remember the theme throughout the week. One thing you can do is you can take a tape measure and you can tack it up so that you can mark how tall you get as the time passes. I made one of these with strips of paper and I put it on my doorway, but it doesn't show up too well on the camera. It's not hard to do. Just cut regular copy paper into 2-inch strips and then lay out either your tape measure or your ruler or your yardstick. And I started marking at 2 feet because usually nobody that's less than 2 feet tall is going to stand there and mark how tall they are. But I marked mine all the way up to 6 feet. Now I'll never get to 6 feet, but other people might want to come in and see how tall they are. So I have that on my doorway now. Other things you can do, you can add your family members to your wall measurement. Maybe you have a little brother or sister or an older brother or sister, and they'd like to keep track of their growth as well. When you go outside into nature, you can look for the transitions of natural phenomenon, how flowers start out as a little tiny bud, and then they open up and they bloom. This is the sign for flower. This is the earth. Here comes the flower. It opens up and it blooms into a flower. And you smell it. And the flower, after it's done its job of helping to make more plants just like itself, then it dies and the petals fall off. That's another transition, another threshold. You can see maybe some caterpillars out there. Maybe you can find a chrysalis that's waiting to turn into a butterfly. Look around you and see all the thresholds and all the transitions that life goes through. And I hope you all have a wonderful week, and keep in mind that your strong self is always right there with you, no matter what the threshold of the transition is. I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.